When capturing snapshots of family and friends at important events, you might not think of the word portrait. When you think portrait, you might think a fancy setup with a professional photographer, and perhaps that's just not you. And yet, using one of the guided edits in Photoshop Elements, we can actually improve the appearance of what might have otherwise been a snapshot photo of a person to make it look a little bit more like a portrait. That guided edit is called Perfect Portrait. Let's take a look at what it's able to accomplish. I have a photo here of a young woman enjoying lunch by a lake in the mountains, and I'd like to make it look a little bit more like a portrait session rather than the snapshot that it actually was. I'm already in the guided mode for editing the photo, and so I'll simply choose Perfect Portrait from the Touch-Ups section on the right panel. The first step is to apply a Smart Blur. I'll go ahead and click that Smart Blur button, and that will bring up the Smart Blur dialog. Now, this blur filter is actually going to blur the photo, and generally speaking, that's not exactly a very good thing, but this blur filter is going to be used only for purposes of smoothing out the skin textures. So with that in mind, I can adjust the settings for the blur, keeping in mind that I'll only be using this for portions of the skin. This looks to be a pretty good effect, a nice smoothing effect for the skin. I'll go ahead and click OK in order to apply that blur. Of course, this has caused the image to be blurred overall, so the next step is to reveal the original, and that will bring back the unblurred photo to the top of the stack, as it were, so now I can't see the blurred effect. The next step is to use the blur brush, in essence, to take the blur we applied in the first step and paint it into specific areas of the photo. For a portrait, you would typically reveal that blur only in the areas of skin. So I'll go ahead and click on the Blur Brush button, and then I can adjust the brush as needed. I'll use the left and right square bracket keys, for example, to adjust the size. Pressing the left square bracket key on the keyboard reduces the brush size, and pressing the right square bracket key on the keyboard increases the brush size. I can then click and drag in the image to paint in that blur effect. And I'll paint only into the skin areas that I actually want to smooth out. For example, I'm not going to paint into the eyes nor onto the lips. And you can see there, now I have a nice smooth effect for the skin on this person's face. I can also increase contrast if I'd like. I'll go ahead and click the Increase Contrast button, and you see that gives us a little bit stronger effect within the photo. I can also scroll down and see a variety of different enhancements. I can remove red eye if that were an issue. I can brighten the eyes. I think I will do that in this case. So I'll simply click the Brighten Eyes button. I'll move the mouse out over the image and adjust the brush size once again with the left and right square bracket keys. And then I can simply paint over the eyes in order to brighten those up. I also have options for darkening the eyebrows if I wanted to darken up the eyebrows or the lips even. I can also whiten teeth. If the teeth were revealed, we could brighten those up a little bit. And I can also apply some spot healing, so I can fix little blemishes if I feel I need to clean up any areas of the photo. For example, there are a couple of spots here on the forehead. I can also get rid of some of these blemishes off in the background. It doesn't necessarily have to be a blemish on the person's face. I can also clean up other areas of the photo if I'd like. I can also add a glow. You'll see that step 6 is to add a glow, and all I need to do is click the button, and that will bring up a filter where I can add a diffuse glow effect, adjusting the settings as I see fit. Those defaults look to be pretty good, so I'll simply click the OK button. And I can also slim down the portrait, and who wouldn't like to have their portrait slimmed down just a little bit? This will change the aspect ratio of the image so that everything gets just a little bit taller. And the effect for a portrait is that the face appears just a little bit narrower. So as you can see, this guided edit has taken me step by step through a series of techniques for improving the appearance of a portrait photograph, taking a snapshot of a person and converting it into what appears to be much more of an intentional portrait. Now that I'm happy with the effect, I'll go ahead and click the Done button, and I'm back to my photo where I can apply additional adjustments or, of course, share the photo with others.